I don't need a microphone. She told you, I do coach. I really don't like microphones, so I'd rather just talk. I ask you just to pay attention briefly. I won't talk very long. When Julie called me to speak, I started taking notes, as I always do, and the first thing that popped into my mind when I started writing down, and I get emotional about this, because when I started NeXT, I never thought I'd have the honor to speak to you guys today. Anytime you get a chance to speak to someone, and they make eye contact with you, they take time to listen to what you have to say, that's an honor. That's an outright honor. And so when I started writing notes down, the very first thing that came to my mind, it's not too late. It's not too late for any of you in here. That goes for adults too. You might have dreams. It's not too late. I don't know why you're here. I don't care why you're here. It's not too late. The final chapter of your life has not been written, okay? It has not been written. If you remember anything I say today, it's not too late. You have to know that. Whatever you went through, whatever has happened to you, I'm going to mention a guy's name. His name's Jake Bailey. Remember that name. I'm going to bring it up later. Jake Bailey. It's not too late. Now, let me tell you who I'm not. It's very important. I'm not a preacher. I got a profound faith in Jesus Christ, but I'm not a preacher. But I will share one Bible scripture with you or two while I'm here. I'm not a politician. I could never run for president and win and imagine that half the country doesn't like me. I don't think my ego could take it. So I'm not a politician. I'm not a professor. I'm not very smart. The only reason I'm here today is that I've learned from a lot of my failures, a lot of failures that I committed. And when I was in my 30s, you think you would know better at your 30s. I did not. Did not land me in here, but I did a lot of things that were wrong. I had multiple kids out of wedlock when I was in my 40s. Now, one of those women, we're married, and we've known each other for 30 years, 25 years. We've been married for 13 years, but I wasn't raised to live my life like that. I'd already been divorced twice. Got married in college, been divorced twice. My mom and dad never been divorced. Not saying anything's wrong with it, but I do think the families are better when the mom and dad are in the house all together raising their kids. I couldn't get out of my own way. I was the worst version of me. The worst version of me. And nobody wants to be the worst version of themselves. And that's what I was. Let me tell you who I am, though. There's 3 questions you should ask yourself. 3 questions. If no one's ever shared this with you, I'm going to share it with you today. There's 3 questions you should ask yourself. Number 1, who are you? Because if you don't know who you are, somebody else is going to define it for you. Who are you? Number 2, what do you believe? Because we all have a belief system. Got to believe in something. What do you believe in? Number 3, and this might be the most important thing, what's your purpose? What's your purpose in life? God created you for a reason. He created you for a reason. He did not create you for you to be in here because you're his masterpiece. You are God's masterpiece. It says in Ephesians 2:10 that you were created as his masterpiece, anew in Jesus Christ, so that you can do good that he planned for you. Already planned for you to do good. Already planned for you to be the best version of yourself, not the worst version of yourself. I've lived the worst version of myself. Broke my mom and dad's heart. Wasn't a good father for a little bit period of my time. Broke my little kid's heart. Now they're men. We're very close. But I couldn't get out of my own way. There's 2 great things that God gives you. 2 great things. 1, salvation if you want it. And number 2 is choice. Free will. We all have free will. It's the greatest thing we got is decisions. And what I know about decisions is that we are 1 decision away from making our worst decision. 1 decision away from making our worst decision. And let me tell you something. I watched you guys play today. You're on a team. You've been on a team today. You've been on a team since the day you were born. That was your family. And every decision you make, every single decision you make has collateral damage. It doesn't affect you. The day that you start to get older and start making decisions, you got a mom, you got a dad, you got an aunt, you got an uncle, you got a grandmother, you got a grandfather. Everything you do affects them. It does. It affects them. I put my mom through a lot of misery. She didn't raise her son to get married 3 times, get divorced twice. I was the kid who was supposed to most likely succeed in high school, and all I did is fail once I got out of college. Used drugs into 30, and when I was in my 30s, you think you would know better then. Did 2 or 3 years where I do cocaine. I say it's recreational, but that's kind of ignorant because there is no such thing as recreational use of drugs. Either you use them or you don't. I was the worst version of myself, absolute worst version of myself. Could have killed somebody when I was high. Could have been in the wrong place at the wrong time, got shot. I'm 30s. I have 3 kids at that point in my life. I have 3 kids. They weren't living in my home, but I had 3 kids I was responsible for. I was the worst version of myself. You don't ever want to be the worst version of yourself. We all have the opportunity to be the best version of ourselves. The best version of myself is why I'm here today. NeXT basketball. NeXT is starting a foundation. I always tell people, basketball is just a shiny bait. If I knew how to play the violin, it would be NeXT Violin Foundation. It's just that I played basketball, I know basketball, I love to teach it and coach it in that order. So we started NeXT. Had a son that got a full ride to Miami to play football. 3 weeks before the signing day, they rescinded his scholarship. Coach Treadwell got fired. Coach Martin came in from Notre Dame and said, you're not good enough to play here. Not good enough to play here. Let me tell you something. Best thing people can do is be honest with you. That's the best thing people can do, is be honest with you. No matter how much it hurts. If somebody's willing to be honest with you, they're doing you a favor. So my son went to Air Force Academy, got appointed, played football there for 1 year, tore up his shoulder, graduated from the prep school academy, which was huge. 3 weeks in, he wanted to come home, crying every day. Said, you can come home, but you're not coming home to live with me. You're going to finish what you started. He finished. Then he ended up going to Wittenberg and playing football there. He finished prep school. When I was in the Denver airport, NeXT came to my mind. I wanted to do something different, and I wanted to marry basketball with community service. I wanted to teach kids how to be a leader because I have failed enough in my life that I realized, okay, I think I understand what it means to be a leader a little bit. I think I understand what it means to be a leader. And make no doubt about it, you're all leaders in here. Every single one of you are leaders in here. Might be a bad leader, but you're all leaders. You have to remember that. We've got to change our mindset. You guys are gifted in so many areas. One of them is leadership. But you got to decide if you want to be a good leader or a bad leader. So fast forward, I start NeXT. Want to marry community service with basketball. We always say, if you want to lead, you have to humble yourself and serve. A better way to say it is, if service is beneath you, then leadership is beyond you. Because you got to humble yourself before you're going to lead somebody. What's that look like? Say you're the coach of the team. Let me ask you something. Should the coach eat first when we go to eat lunch, or should he eat last? Or she? I'll help you out. He should eat last, because that's what leaders do. Leaders pave the way for other people, and then they get behind them. They get behind them. So NeXT is an acronym. NeXT is an acronym. I grew up playing basketball, and everybody said at the park, who's got NeXT? So NeXT is an acronym. The N stands for nothing good happens when you make it about you or I make it about me. If you are the most important person in your life, you're going to be the most lonely person in your life. Nothing good happens when you make it about you, when you make it about me. E stands for everybody counts. Everybody counts. Janitors in here, janitors at your high school, they count. My grandfather was a custodian his whole life until he died. Janitors count. People count. Let's say you play on a basketball team and your talent level's up here, because every team's going to have level here, here, and here. If you're up here, all that means is you're a good basketball player. It don't mean anything else. Doesn't mean you're a good teammate, doesn't mean you're a good person, doesn't mean anything else. Your responsibility, if you're up here, when I was watching today, your responsibility, if you're up here as a basketball player, is to help the ones that are down here. That's your responsibility as a leader. Not chastise them, not get on them, but to bring them along, to bring them along. Just remember this, everybody counts. You count. I think when I walked in the doors today, I think it said everyone counts in this facility. I think it says something like that. I totally agree with that. X stands for extra effort. I used to say, give me 115% effort. I don't do that. A lot of times it's impossible to give 115% effort. Give 100% effort. Be the best version of yourself. Give 100% effort. And I'm not talking in the physical realm. I'm talking up here in your mind, what you think. Because we do know that whatever we think, we become. We do know that. Studies have proven that. We move towards our most dominant thought. Thinking. Give 100% to your thinking. You're in here, read books. Read books. Read people that are smarter than you, that have been there, that have something that they want to give you. Expand your mind. It is so important because at the end of the day, what you believe is what you become. And I don't care what happened in the past. I don't care what led you here. Today, I want today to be a new day. Today be a new day. I always like to say a person's overweight, say they weigh 300 pounds, and then they decide that they want to lose weight. They made that decision that day. They made that decision. That's the beginning. But the fruits of her decision are not going, or his decision is not going to manifest immediately. Got to be intentional, got to be consistent, she's got to work out. He's got to work out. And then you will see the fruits of that decision. Make good decisions. Make good decisions on top of good decisions, on top of good decisions, on top of good decisions. Tell yourself today that I'm never going to come back here again. I'm never going to be in the penal system. I'm never going to be in a prison ever again. I'm going to start thinking different. I'm going to start making better decisions. And I don't care about the statutes of limitations of your victimhood are over. If your dad wasn't there, he wasn't there. That's over. We can't hang on that excuse. If we lost somebody to violence, drug violence, gun violence, that is so unfortunate. Them days, you got to move on. You got to move on. Because if not, you're going to be right here. You'll be here right here the rest of your life. I don't know who's got kids in here. They're waiting for you. I have no idea who has got kids in here, but they're waiting for you. They're waiting for you to be a father. That's what they want, okay? We do know that the number one predictor for poverty is a single family household, single mom. Number one predictor for poverty, single mom. Number one predictor. So for you who have kids in here that I have no idea, they're waiting for you to be a father. That's what they want. The T stands for team. Team before I. So we start with team and we end with team. Why? Because you don't do anything in life without somebody else's help. It's impossible. I don't know one person that has got to where he or she is by themselves. Not one. There is not one. We're all on a team. I got 6 kids, 5 boys and a girl. I got a wife. I got 2 mom and dad that are still alive. I got in-laws, mom and dad, they're still alive. I got a sister. That's my team. Every decision I make has an effect on them. Every one. We'll end with this. My mom told me when I was in 8th grade, she told me a story about this kid. See, I was born in Circleville. I was born at Berger Hospital. My dad was an all-state football player at Circleville. My mom lived here in Circleville. We moved when I was 8 years old. This is one of the first times I've been back to Circleville. I went through Circleville. I've had lunch at Circleville once, twice, but this is the first time I've ever stopped. Never thought I would be here speaking. Like I said, I'm honored. But my mom told me a story about this kid growing up. Didn't know his dad. His mom was white. His dad was black. Didn't know his dad. And when his mom got married, he was racist. And he says, I'll marry you. We can live together, but your son can't stay here. He's got to go. She told me the boy was about 14 years old, 13 years old. That's some harsh reality to have somebody do that, to have your mom make a decision like that. You have every reason to be bitter and angry if your own mom made that decision. You're her blood, and you're going to choose somebody else over him? That's not right. You have every reason to be angry about that. So this guy that I was told about went and lived with his grandmother and aunt. You think it would get better. His aunt was racist. So what happened to him? He was physically abused. Not sexually abused, but physically abused. He had a bedwetting problem, and why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he? So what his grandmother, his aunt, made him do is sleep in it. Made him sleep in it for a week, wouldn't change it. He wasn't allowed to eat with the other kids because they had kids there. Wasn't allowed to eat. This kid ended up being a really good athlete. Parents didn't come to it. Well, he didn't know his dad. Mom never came watching him play one time, football or basketball. Not one time. High school coach had to be his escort on senior night. Fast forward some 30 years later, that same man went and met his father for the first time in Xenia, Ohio, when they had the really bad tornadoes there in '76. That man is my dad, Jake Bailey. And let me tell you what my dad taught me about leadership, about being a great teammate. He went and saw his mom for 20 years, every Sunday in Circleville, Ohio, on Walnut Street, and had dinner with her every Sunday without fail. Whether I played basketball, whether I played football, made no difference. Every Sunday, he drove from Columbus, Ohio to Circleville to have dinner with the woman that didn't want him in his life. That's leadership. That's leadership. He had every reason to hate her. I didn't care for her. I only met her about 2 or 3 times in my life because I didn't have the capacity to spend any time with someone to do that to my dad. But my dad had a decision to make when he was 15. He could either be involved with gangs, he could either be doing whatever he wanted to do, and he told me I was either going to end up in jail or going to end up in dead. And he said, the best thing that ever happened to me is that God gave me your mom. They've been married I'm 54, they've been married 56 years. And he said, and the best thing, he went to the Marines, because that's all he knew. He said, I wanted 3 meals a day. I wanted 3 meals a day. But what my dad taught me in his actions, not his words, is that a leader humbles themselves and serve, even when they've been betrayed. That's the sign of a man to me. That's a man to me. It's easy to hate. Hate hasn't solved one problem. Not one world problem has ever been solved by hate, but we all have the capacity to hate inside of us, and it doesn't do a thing. It's the loving part that does. See, I came here today to encourage you, but to be honest with you, I'm the one that's encouraged. You guys did me a favor, because this is the best version of me, and I get to share it with you. That, to me, is a blessing. The Latin word for courage is cur, the Latin root. I'll end with this, cur, which means heart. The Latin meaning for courage is to share your story with all your heart. You guys have a story to tell. All of you guys in here are going to be success stories. Every single one of you are going to be success stories, because you're going to get out of here and you're going to make a difference in your life, and then you're going to share your life with courage. And with that courage, you're going to encourage. And you're saying, well, how do you know this? I do know this. I do know this because I believe in Jesus Christ, and I believe that everyone in here was created with a purpose. I got one thing I want to read to you, and then we'll end with this. Jeremiah 29:11-14. I live by this. It says, for I know the plans I have for you. I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you, not harm you. Not harm you, to prosper you. And prosper isn't just about money. Prosper is to prosper you mentally and emotionally. To prosper you. Here's my favorite part. And not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a future. And there's more here, but I'm going to end with that. Plans to give you a hope and a future. Then he says, then you will call on me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. Isn't it great when somebody listens to you? Greatest thing in the world. Just make sure you have something to say when they do. Just make sure you have something to say what you do. So I want to tell you right now, if you haven't listened to one thing to me, make eye contact with me, everyone. Even I don't care if you respect me or not. I'm going to ask you I just want to say one thing with you. I want to share one thing with you. I don't want you to forget this. I don't care if you remember one thing that I said. It's not too late. It's not too late. The decision is yours. It's not too late. Ain't nobody else's decision but yours. It's not too late. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.